I'm trimming out the newel post at the bottom of the stairs. I've just got some pre-painted or primed 1x6s, and then I've ripped them to 4 7/8, and now I'm beveling the sides so they'll all come together mitered. I am not ripping them to 45 degrees, beveling at 45, it's about 46 degrees. That way I know that that outside is nice and tight. The other thing it's going to give me is a little ability to adjust it square with the length of the stair treads. That way the cuts of the stair treads going around this will be a little bit simpler. And then once it's all nailed in place, the fact that the inside of that joint is a little open doesn't matter, because that outside is the appearance, and it's tight, and this is just a trim board. Let's take a look at what I do with these trim boards. A lot of this stuff is just too nitpicky to do on camera. I just don't have time to film everything anymore. But I took those boards, they were ripped to 4 7/8 in this case. That had to do with how the dimensions of this, once it went through the planer, and then calculating for the miter, and then just a little wiggle room. You see that wiggle room? I did that to where I could kind of skew this block down here to be square with these cuts. Otherwise, if I just nailed these off to this post, which has a slight twist in it, it'd be very hard to get this joint clean in there. So this outside one here, let me go wide angle, had to be notched around here. I'm not concerned about everything being perfect. I can use caulk and other pieces of trim. So I'm just going for a little clearance there. This one right here had to be ripped. But you can see it's kind of notched around where the stringer's at. And then this piece here is just a single length. And then I did take one of the pieces that got ripped off making the miter, and I glued and nailed that off to that backside miter, so it'll be clean here. There's gonna be a little filler piece to come out to the face of that board. All this will be spackled and caulked. It'll be clean enough. And then this is a short piece that just goes down. So what this actually looks like is that. So I trimmed the tread to fit around all that. And then that wiggle room that I referred to allows me to get this block tightly into this joint. And then the cool thing is since this is mitered like this side of the joint right here is not perfectly tight. So once I'm getting all this in place, I can put some shims into here, and that'll press that out tight. And then I can just touch up how clean the miters match up, and then basically just get that all as tight as I can. It's not really much room for kind of caulking this. My only spot I'd say I messed up is on the table saw. I notched this out, and I cut too far when I was making this cut here. So a bit of an explanation that might not make perfect sense, but it gives y'all kind of an idea. The bull nose of the step kind of will wrap out onto that face. I'm not sure I totally like it. It would be nice if it stuck out a little further, but it's just the way it is. There'll also be all this will be trimmed out, and I may even put some more trim, little decorative. I might do something, I don't know. If I do a little bit more, it might distract from that piece there. I could also cut that off. I don't know yet. That's not that important at the moment. I'm mainly just trying to get this trimmed to where that tread can go on, and then get all the other treads attached down to where I can attach the handrail, get the measurement of that to where it is at the right angle, and then start installing the balusters. Once these came off the table saw, I ran them through the planer, and that finalized their thickness. I gave them a very quick sanding with them all kind of stacked up together, and then I primed them with Kills primer. Once that was dry, I very lightly and quickly sanded each one just with a 220 grit pad, and now I am using semi-gloss white paint with just a little foam roller. I've got some little scrap pieces where I mitered the edges of some boards. Got a couple of the balusters in. That was sort of a sample just to kind of get it figured out. What I did is I put this one on first and this one on first, and the fronts of those are flush with the fronts of the risers. And then I centered this one. So that's probably how I'll do it. I'll work my way up. The next one I'll put here, and then I'll come back and center this one. It's going to make it a little tricky because basically I'm going to run a screw up into here, but I can put it in an angle, probably put it in an angle from the back. All these are planed to where they're a tight fit up into the plowed area underneath the rail. So these are just friction fit tight up in there right now. So that angle, they're fit into the groove tight. And then once they're pressed in, it's pushing down right there. So I might just go ahead and get them all in place and then remove them and then come back starting here where I'll have clearance and work my way up. And then once I get up here, it's just going to be kind of tricky, tight business, but probably mainly only this one. I think I'm going to go toe nailing with screws. Got these little trim screws here so you can see. Let me find another screw real quick. This is your standard. It's a drywall screw, but it's a bugle head. So to give you an idea. So just a drywall screw, so not the biggest head. And then these, which are this. Got these from Lowe's, these little, what are they, 50 packs. I've got these 2.5 inches, and then I've got some that are 2 inches. There goes the staircase so far. The handrail is complete, minus a touch of trim work around the top of that newel post to build it up, and then down at the bottom. But I'm going to do all the trim work sort of at once, sort of consider it all in one because I might choose profiles that go up under here, the same as this and same as whatever I do here, and then also up the steps. I'm standing outside the front door to kind of give you a perspective right now. So switching to wide angle, I'll step inside. Still haven't done this tread yet. Not concerned about that. I mean, it is part of the staircase, but so people thought the last video kind of ended abruptly, and I know it did, but I wanted to put a video out. I didn't want to wait a week or two more to put out some, and I just didn't have much to say at the end of that video. I was going to kind of make my full comments on the staircase once I was further along, because really all I did in that last video was, you know, just work on the stair treads for the most part. And I think I had this post up. It's really hard for me to remember what I did. I think I sanded this, but just didn't feel as talkative. But I'll give y'all some talking in this video. Only thing design-wise I would have probably done different is maybe potentially shrinking these in this dimension a little bit. Although, when I'm looking at it now, complete, I'm liking it. It also gave me more to work with as far as attachments. They're gonna be stiffer because of their size. So standing back against the door, that's what you see. Come to here, let me back up in the room. Of course, this is a wide angle. We'll go to this. I don't know, I like it. Then you got to keep in mind there's going to be more weightiness that's going to occur under here once I do whatever type of trimming I'm going to do on the wall under the treads and down the edge of those risers. There's going to be a little, you know, something going on around the top of that post. That line in the background, that board, that's going to get trimmed out. I don't know, I'm liking it. I don't have any quarrel with the dimension. The other thing too is if I did anything and I shrank it, that's getting closer to 1.5 inches. And I think visually, 1.5 inches, 3.5 inches, you know, you're getting into the 2x material look. You know, this is 1.8 inches. That looks custom, it looks specific to this project. When you're looking at this, that's beefier than 1.5 inches, so you know that this wasn't just ripped out of some 2x material. So I like that. Nothing wrong with it if that's the route you go. It's just, none of this stuff matters enough to work yourself up over too much. I mean, it's crazy to do in this type of rental property, but I wanted to do it and kind of regret it. We'll talk about that in a minute. Any regret though, I think once it's over and I've moved on, you know, it'll fade. But you know, just in the process of having to do something this slow, it's been tricky. I think I'm pleased with everything. I'm pleased with how this post attached. It's really sturdy. And then you add the handrail, that made it sturdier. And then once you get all these points of connections on the balusters, I mean, this is as stiff and as sturdy as any handrail in a house that has a nice handrail. There's plenty of handrails I feel all the time when I'm in people's houses where you put your hand on the handrail. The first thing you do is let go because you don't want to hurt somebody's handrail. So I'm very pleased with its the function of it. Let's look at it from, I haven't even looked at it from the top since I finished it. So this is the start of the long ramble it'll be at the end of this video. Maybe I'll toss on one of the clips of looking at this from the start of the project. This is so much nicer looking. You know, the traditional nature of the handrail, the age of the house. I don't know if I said this already, but my whole sort of goal with going this route was right when you enter, you're going to see that from that view I've already shown you. Other than that, this house is not a striking house in any way in particular. Other than I'd say maybe the vaulted ceilings give it sort of a cool, you know, cool feel. Turn this light on. Yeah, so I mean, I like that. I think that has sort of a striking, you know, kind of a striking addition to the house. But I think that this is going to, someone's going to walk in, see this staircase, and you can see it from here. You can see it from the living room. You see it when you walk in. You see it when you're walking down them, up them, from sort of coming from the dining room. So this staircase is sort of always going to play a role in how you see the house. So I think it's a big upgrade, or not upgrade. It is an upgrade, but I think it is it's going to be a major feature on the house in the way someone thinks of this house being just another rental property, or like an actual house with some level of class. Now, of course, there's those, now to illustrate my point, you know, there's basic details in this house. You know, these floors, for example, less expensive cabinets, less expensive the finishings. But the whole purpose of that is everything coming up until you get to the point where you start painting fixtures, light fixtures, the faucets, stuff like that, the appliances, all that's cosmetic. All that can be changed very easily. So I think I have it all appropriately paired for the type of rental it is now. But in the future, it may change where it is the rental market on this street in particular may go way up. And then also, in the future, ever selling this house, I could either as a higher end rental or as a house you sell, it's so easy to change all the cosmetic stuff. But everything up until this point has been sort of a bone level working on the house, the reframing, wiring, plumbing, all that stuff is the same all up until that point where you start making all these final decisions. And you know, this is just a plastic floor covering, basically. It preserves the floor under there. And then if I ever wanted to, you could put the nicest vinyl plank flooring you want in there. You could come in and cut that opening in that sink and put a nicer sink and a nicer fixture. And if it's one of those things where you come in and you spend, you know, a couple weeks and $5,000 or however much to bring it all up, and it ups the price $50,000 on a house when you sell it, sure, you can do it if you want. But I've already got all that heavy work done, and I'd say the end finished result is probably right where it needs to be, or a little bit higher with things like my concern on the handrail. So I'd say ultimately the house is right where I want it to be. All of its newness in the renovation makes it'll be a low maintenance house. It'll be a, what do you call it? It's well insulated with a new heat pump, so it's going to be economical for the person living here that wants a house like this. So yeah, overall, I'm pleased. I'm going to go ahead and I'll start getting all this trim work done and filmed and edited. Maybe I'll switch over to the tripod now. Some of what I say right now may seem a little repetitive, but you get new people asking the same questions that have been asked in the past, and nobody's going to go back and watch all your videos and listen to the end of a video where I do most of my answering of common questions if they're new to the channel. So some of the stuff will be kind of new, and then I'll probably wander off onto other topics. Some of I guess the biggest single comment or question always has to do with something like how long I'm taking to do this. So again, this is going to be extremely repetitive to what I've already said in the past. The biggest reason is renovating a house on your own is major. This is also the biggest house, meaning it's square footage wise, it's the biggest house that I've renovated. And then also it was just almost no surface untouched. There were a lot of sort of roadblocks along the way of things that were more expensive. It took me a little while to get to. How long has this taken? Man, I've been fooling with this house for probably 5 years, which obviously sounds crazy. People are always saying things like, wow, I went into college when you started this house and now I'm graduated with a job. Well, that's also completely kind of arbitrary, I think. It has like kind of nothing to do with it. So some of the things, and might not say everything, so what I'm about to say is not all encompassing, but it's just sort of part of it. I don't want to say everything that I do or think or planning on in YouTube videos, because mostly these videos are just strictly for entertainment purposes. I enjoy making them, so it's entertaining for me to make them to a degree. It's a lot of extra work. It's just sort of fun. I like part of the interaction that you get from doing it. There was the financial side that used to be more of an influence. Now I'm sort of, trying to have some endurance and follow through. And then hopefully when I start the next house, it'll just be sort of handled in a way that's better for a series. But since I bought this house, I bought this house right around the same time I bought the house I live in. And I also bought it right as I was finishing another renovation. And then I bought another property that I sort of had to start. Didn't have to start it, but it was just situation made it to where I kind of messed with it a little bit. Now I've had to start another renovation for another reason. Again, I'm not going to get into all the reasons. I had a baby at the time I bought this, had another child since then. They've gotten older. Those demands go higher. There's also things that I just want to do at this part of my life and not wait to do those at a later part of my life. And then the major one, I think it's because people are watching this video, they think that this is my main thing. And while rental / YouTube is my main thing, this is not my purpose in life to fix old houses, to turn them into rental properties. I don't identify with it that way. And I know people who want to just constantly find the fault in what you're saying. They'll say something like, oh, you don't love what you're doing, you shouldn't do it. It's well, a lot of people don't love what they're doing for financial gain to the point where they wouldn't do it if they didn't get paid. So the financial side of it is, of course, a motivator for them. I would much rather be independently wealthy, playing in my workshop, making pieces of furniture or other little projects for no other reason other than I wanted to. That would be my dream. And I'm working there. I'm probably only a couple of years off from the lamest version of that being a reality if I wanted to kind of do it as early as possible. But again, I go back to, I don't think of this as my main thing. I think of my main thing is my family, spending time with them, trying to kind of do things that will create a foundation for them and the memories for them that will then that will inform how they do the same thing later. I don't want them, I think by the time they get my money, I'm going to have an amount of money and an amount of properties and stuff like that, to where financially they'll be a lot freer than I am now and have been up until this point. So I don't want them to just look at me as the real estate hustler. I could do that if I really wanted to. If I was single, that's what I would do. I would just live in houses, fix houses, keep one as my residence legally, and then sell it after 2 years while I'm working on others that I turn into rental properties or selling them. I mean, you can do all that. But I mean, it would be totally soulless for me to do that, and I'm not capable of it. I think I've said this before, I've had one job in high school. And other than that, I've always just sort of tried to make money in areas that were bearable for me or enjoyed doing, like making my furniture, or transitioned into the videos was fun. And I'll say I go through phases of things that I'm more or less interested in, but it all sort of stays in that creative realm, whether it's like this handrail is totally unnecessary. It was sort of the creative urge in me to do something like that versus just the practical need to make sure somebody can come down a set of stairs safely. So yeah, I go back to, all right, what I'm gonna say is just an explanation and slightly defensive. And the way I'm gonna phrase this is, again, not my main thing. So in keeping that in mind, when people are kind of nitpicking the armchair quarterback kind of idea is, and I don't mean this critically, what I'm about to say is, but sort of what is it you're doing in addition to your main stuff. So for me, I've got my main stuff, father, husband, and I'll say the rental stuff in general. So this specific house, it's not like the most critical thing in the world to me. So I'm doing all the stuff I do, make my furniture as well. I got family, I go to church. You got friends. I mean, time just seems so much smaller than what you think of it as when you're younger. And so I'm doing all that other stuff, and then in 5 years from when I bought the house, again, I think of it as an arbitrary amount, I'll have this house, it'll be paid off, it'll be rented, And most people who are being critical, and most people not being critical, they're not going to do that. And you don't have to. I'm just saying that imagine just kind of adding in renovating a house like this into your schedule. That's tough. But when it's done, it's yours, you rent it, and then you move on. And then keep in mind also, while I've done this one, I have acquired other things. And so that has been big hits of money going towards something that wasn't this house. Sorry, I'm getting a little jumbled up, forgetting what I've already talked about. And I don't want to restart this video a bunch of times. That's even harder when you stop a video where you're talking like this and then you try to restart. You can't remember if you said what you want to say in the one you're currently filming, or was that the one you were filming before you messed up and said something. So even if I say something messed up, I'll just edit it out. I guess harping on that comment is that, and again, this is me being repetitive too, but I really don't want others that read comments, because a lot of people will watch a video, and while the video, like I'm talking, they're like reading through the comments in a video, seeing what other people think about some part of the video. I don't want someone to read that and go, oh yeah, that is an interesting point. He's been working on this house for 5 or 6 years. That's crazy. That is so much context left out of it, for one thing. And so what? Let's say you took 5 years to fix up every house, and you start fixing up houses when you're 25 years old, 30, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65. You'd have 7 fully paid off rental houses at that time of when you renovate. If I had 7 of my houses in full rental and I had no debt, and I don't have the costs of having children in the house anymore, and all the ways that adds, I would totally be okay financially. I would be making probably twice the amount of money that I would need to make off of that amount of money. And that is ignoring whatever other thing that person did. So you could end up with your pension or whatever it is, your 401k is paying out, your whatever all of your main career was, and however that pays out, if you go that route, plus having, say, $7,000. And again, when I'm 65, this house will probably rent for twice what it rents now. Now, other costs will be higher. I get all that. Factor all that in if you want to really nitpick it. But the biggest thing is, and this is going to be me being mean, is most of the time you've got a bunch of whiners, or you've got somebody who thinks they're bigger than they are, because they've read a bunch of stuff, they've heard a bunch of stuff. Maybe they've renovated one house and you're 20 years old and you have a full-time job and you renovated a house, but you don't even have a girlfriend, much less married, children. It's a totally different ball game. And again, I am making a choice to not make this my main thing. So I think that's all as far as I'll go on that, or I'll just start saying the same stuff again. Trying to think. The camera puts a lot of pressure on you when you try to real quickly go from one topic to the next. Where we're at in this house, right now I'm sort of back in that position of, I've got enough money to move forward, but I've got a few things on this house that are bigger costs that I could pay for, but it's going to leave me vulnerable in other areas. So I'm kind of stalling a little bit in a few areas. Biggest thing is, need to have all the windows wrapped, the trim on the outside, the floors, whatever I do with the floors in the house, it's not going to be that expensive. That's really the appliances. That's significant, but it's not that bad. But yeah, so I think it's it. If you're wanting to do this type of thing, I strongly encourage it. I talked to somebody the other day. I'm not going to say anything that's specific to who it was. This is a person in real life. He's a father. He has a career that's demanding, has long shifts, 12-hour shifts, not 7 days a week, but 12-hour shifts, for the days that he's working. and it's a decent paying career, but he's got a lot of expenses. He's got a big family, and then stuff has just become more expensive. And I think certain people of a certain age aren't seeing it. It's kind of like you were just born into everything costing a fortune. And so, but like I'm old and I'm 38, so I'm old enough to sort of see like the 90s, the 2000s, and then like the sort of the mid, but like 2010, 12, and 15, or say 2010 to 2015. I'm thinking of these like times when I was doing stuff and where I could notice like certain changes, and it is very different. The other thing I'll throw in, and again, this is beating a dead horse because I've said it so many times, but I'll be specific in how I say it. The cost of stuff from the time I bought this house to now, it really did go up, and it had to do with something that happened in 2020. I don't even know what you're allowed to say on YouTube anymore, but everybody had to stay at home and wear dust masks, and so the cost of materials skyrocketed during that time. If y'all weren't buying anything from Lowe's or Home Depot, skyrocketed. And so that was a major stall for me. It also shifted a lot of the advertising stuff on YouTube and viewing habits. It was all kinds of stuff, and it was slow to affect me. I was able to kind of figure out the cost stuff and slow down a little bit, but you know, I'll say I never felt like I recovered from that, and I think that's 80 to 90% accurate, maybe a little bit of me using it as an excuse. But then you combine that with like the life changes that were occurring. You know, it's kind of you know, there was just a lot to it. I don't you know, prices now versus then are still significantly different. So I started this project. That would be the good way of saying it. Say you bought a house for $50,000, and then and you expected it to be a $25,000 renovation, and you plan the whole thing out, and you said, with my current income, that will work. Now imagine your income goes down, and the price is double or triple, and then you have 2 children in that time, and then the money you saved, you bought some other places. You know, whether or not that's a good idea or not. So that's sort of, I think, an illustration of how this stuff is going. This is not just me. This is a lot of people that are sort of in that range of trying to go from being a tiny tot to somebody who can actually have some financial wherewithal. It's hard to cross that, going from little guy to big guy. That middle ground is very hard, whether it's you're just a guy cutting grass in his own business, and you're trying to go from the guy with a lawnmower and a pickup truck to the guy with a crew of guys crossing that area. It goes from needing, if this is zero, you go from needing this much money to like this much money at once. So that's a tricky thing to do. So right now I think of it as I'm investing my time. Whatever I achieve in life will be to the benefit of my children. I'm okay with that. I don't need a lake house. I don't need whatever kind of fancy car that I can think of right now. And I like it. To me, it's more forward thinking. If I was gauging everything on what I wanted when I was 20, and I achieved that, I don't think I'd be happy now, because I'm not interested in those same things. So I don't want to base what I'm doing now at 38, what will make me feel fulfilled at like 60. And so what I know will always make me feel good is just the forward movement in achieving something that my kids can benefit from. And I don't mean that in some sort of trying to feign being a great guy or anything like that. I just mean it from a literal point of view of that's just a reality. I'm going to be dead, they will be alive, and I would rather focus on achieving something for them now than myself, because what I want to, again, piddle around in a workshop and finish an old Jeep restoration that I started when I was 16 years old. Stuff like that. Stuff that is, you don't need to be a big shot to do the things that I want to do. So I'm not, which I think keeps me in a better space in my head of not being like upset because I don't have a bunch of stuff that I don't have the money to buy. I think that's pretty much all that needs to be said. I didn't finish my story. I was talking to the man with the 12-hour shift job, and he's got his big family, and he's making tough decisions as a result of financial limitations. Despite having a decent amount of money, his expenses are so high. And I just suggested to him, because he did the common thing, we both did the common thing of like, I actually knew what this guy was, and so I asked him a question about it, and then that led him to ask me what I do, and I answered him, and my answer to people is I work on houses. That's first step. Then they say, oh, okay, they go, what do you do in houses? I go, just general renovations. And then they go, okay, and then they'll lead to basically asking, am I working on other people's houses? And I say, no, it's houses that I own. And then they say, what are you doing? Are you flipping them? And then I go, no, I keep them as rentals. So I don't bring it up myself. I always steer away from talking about that because it's real easy for people to make assumptions about it. And but if it comes up, and then if the situation I think calls for it, I tell people my thoughts on it and kind of where it's been helpful for me. And then usually I'm always talking to somebody who's making more money than me too, and I basically tell them that. I go, I don't need to know how much money you're making to know you're making more than I am. And say, so if I can do it, you can do it. You would just have to figure out the time aspect of it a little differently. I've got more time to work on the houses. And that's what makes my income lower, versus they have to spend all their time at a job and it makes their income higher. But you can kind of use more of your income to try to buy your way out of not having time by getting someone else to do certain things. And again, so I go back to, if that particular guy does that, or anybody like him, every house, once it's fixed up, and you've got $1,000-ish, and I'm kind of like calculating costs into it. I'm not saying $1,000 rent. You have somewhere around 1,000 or a lot more of income from rental property, and that's an advantageous way to make your income. You've got an asset that is appreciating like crazy these days, and it will keep on going into the future with little dips and spikes along the way. Yeah, I guess that's it. So if you have any questions on that type of stuff, I'm more than happy to talk to you about it. Just leave comments and I'll answer them the best I can. And interesting comments, I usually pin it. Whatever the most interesting or sort of controversial comment someone makes, I usually pin that. And I don't do that to attack any of y'all. I do it because I'm interested in it. I want to see what other people say, and it helps me keep up with it because it keeps it at the top of the comments. And then, but you will be attacked. People are a little defensive of me, or if it's one that's critical of something that I've said, I'll get other people to jump on me. So I don't do it for that reason. I say to any of y'all watching, don't jump all over somebody. If you got something mean to say, just leave them alone. And but if you got something to add to it, feel free to say something. That's it. You got any questions? Let me know. Check out all of my links below. One will be to my ebook, Cheap Houses: How I Find and Buy Inexpensive Real Estate. It's a PDF. It's also available on Amazon, and there'll be the Patreon link for people who want to contribute financially to the channel. There's a PayPal link, all that type of stuff. Check it out, and I think that's it. Thanks for watching. See you next time.